Hello and welcome. Welcome to another Solution Sunday because the soul is the solution.
Hello,
I am Lisa Warner. I am the author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing and the creator of Solution Sunday, because I believe that we are grand beings of light here to create heaven on earth. Today, we are here with my good friend, Ryan Joseph Allen. He is the author of My Drug Dealer Brought Me to God, but we're not talking really about that as much today, but we are talking about talking to trees. Ryan, good morning.
Oh, thank you, Lisa, for having me on today. It's always wonderful and fun to spend time with you. So I'm excited just to chat today. And yeah, I think talking to trees, the word talking sometimes would be like, well, what are you doing talking to trees? But I think communing with trees sometimes might be a little bit more a little bit more of a soft way to say that for some, because there's different ways that you can commune with the trees and listen and talk, communicate. So, but yeah, I think talking to trees, it's so much fun. And it's just something I've really developed the last couple of years. So
So how did you get into talking to the trees and communicating? How did you open those lines of communication?
yeah, so it was funny. I was on a spiritual retreat in Mount Shasta, and we were right outside. And I'm not the best at names of like geographic locations. We were right by a really large lake overlooking the mountain, and we were there, and we just held circle and just kind of connected with everyone, and we were all kind of doing our own things. And I saw this really beautiful tree just sitting over the lake that was like right over Mount. It's like Mount Shasta's in the background, the tree, the lake. It was so beautiful. So I was just admiring it, and I was thinking, wow, this is so beautiful. So I just went over and touched the tree, and I noticed some people had put like nails in it, and that was really my first interaction. I said, "Oh, poor tree." I said, "Oh, poor tree," like it was like a baby or a dog or something. And the tree spoke back and said, "Oh no, don't worry about me. Like it's not. I'm pleased. Yeah, please don't nail into me. But like I'm okay. I'm not. I'm very happy." And I thought that was really interesting. So I got that message as I placed my hands on the tree and just were really admiring the beauty. And I think ever since I was little, I could commune with the tree spirits and the trees, but I don't think I understood like what it was like to go back and forth, right? So it was just a communication of like love, appreciation, respect, beauty. And then in return, I would give that to the tree. And then in return, the tree would give me like grounding and rooting and balance and love back, right? And all the things I gave it, it'd give back. It was like reciprocal. But in this moment, I was like, wow, this tree just gave me these beautiful messages. And so I was sharing with the tree spirit just around like how blessed it was too. I was like, wow, how blessed are you to have this view? And it's like, oh yeah, like, and it's in a park. So for context, the tree was in a park. And so the tree was like, oh, and people are really kind to me, like in general, like despite these nails you see, don't let that fool you. Like, don't let that be the story of like me, because that's not my story. And I just was really, really in depth. And some of the other participants that I hadn't even talked to from the retreat came over, and they're like, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm communing with the tree. And they said, oh my gosh. And it's funny because the next day they like pulled me over to their group of friends at the retreat and said, oh, you have to meet, this is the boy I was telling you about that talks to trees. And I was like, okay, yeah, I was talking to the trees and the trees were talking to me. Like, that's a thing. And so I was able to like get out of my head, right? Because sometimes your head would say, are you really talking to the tree, or are you just kind of making it up or whatever? And it was like, no, like this was real moments of like deep connection that, like I said, I'd felt since I was a little child, playing in the trees, climbing the trees, admiring the trees, letting the apples fall from the trees or picking the ripe apples, and just kind of like a respect I had. And it developed over time into this. And so that happened about 2 years ago, actually. So it's only been a couple years that I've been like consciously really working with the trees like that. And it's really only been in the last 9 months or so, 10 months, maybe over the year, that it's really developed into something that's, gosh, it's like I don't want to go outside without touching the trees or without communing. Or, just a moment ago, I was outside on my patio. It's a third story, and there's a large tree. Then the sun was in the background, and I just asked the tree, like, what, any messages you want me to share today for you? And really blanket level, he just said, sometimes the trees have gender, sometimes they don't. That's a whole thing, in families and things like that. But this tree just said, I think just letting people know that the word commune was really important. He said, talk about communing with the tree. I mean, talking to the tree is a form of communing. And then he also said that this is something that has no barriers. Like, you don't have to go to a class to learn how to do it, or you don't have to like pay a fee to become like a tree talker or anything. It's just innate to all of us. And so that tree reminded me and said, just remind people that there's different ways to do it, and that you can talk about those during the hour, but then also that like there are no barriers. And like, anyone from someone who's homeless to a billionaire, to the CEO, to the janitor, and everything in between, on all sides of that, new on your spiritual journey, at the last stages of your spiritual journey, any age, race, gender, anything, like socioeconomics, that anything, it doesn't matter, that is like something that everyone has access to. And so I was like, okay, I will honor you and make sure I share that near the beginning of our talk. But yeah, I'll let you ask some questions. I could talk forever, so
I love that. I mean, the word commune is really part of the word community, and we are all in community here on this planet. All living beings are in community, and we all have the ability to communicate with each other. But humanity has been talked out of our ability to communicate. And we've been kind of convinced that if something doesn't speak in English, French, or German, that it's not intelligent and it has no wisdom to share, and that it's just a thing, an inanimate object. And this isn't true at all. Living beings, we all share the mind of God, the wisdom, the consciousness of source itself, of life. And I really love that you are developing this ability to communicate with the trees, because it really shows what is possible. And I'm sure that the trees have a lot of wisdom to share.
yeah, so that's so I have a few things. So first of all, I'll just say, we don't have to dive into it, but I will just say I think it is a collective programming from the people in power, or whatever, that are trying to separate. They want to separate us from each other. They want to separate us from nature, because if we're separated from nature, then we make decisions that might not be in alignment with our true nature of taking care of the planet and being stewards. And it's funny because some people say stewards of the land, and I think that's a beautiful concept, but I get a different message from the trees, and it's this reciprocity. It's like, I nourish and take care of you, multiple, like this is from all plants and animals, really. But I nourish you, and I bring value, and I ground, and I balance, and you give respect and protection at times, right? And sometimes the trees and the animals provide the protection, but it is a reciprocity between. And if the people that are creating the programming, right, if they're wanting to separate, what's one of the best ways to do that than to separate us from nature, to separate us from caring about the environment, or caring about the trees, animals, etc. So just, we'll say that we don't have to dive into that too much unless we do later on or whatever. But I really wanted to tell you about, and I don't like the word favorite, because a lot of the trees are my favorite, but this is, I would say the tree spirit I'm most connected to is our beautiful grandmother tree. And what made me think about her is that I was just speaking with her, and I was there with my partner, and we were both meditating with beautiful grandmother tree, and her message was, we are all one, we are all connected. And so it's funny because she's given me this message many times, but it's always relevant to what was going on in my world. And also that same day she gave my partner a message. She said, don't feel the need that you have to come here to commune with me. We are all connected just as beings, energetic beings, but we are also connected via the fungi systems under the ground. So the trees communicate with each other. And there are some amazing documentaries. There's some amazing science. I mean, very rooted in like left brain science. That's proven that these trees communicate, that they're families, that they feed each other. Even like if there's a sick tree, they will like pump nutrients to that tree from their roots. And so like these trees are communicating, maybe not in the way that we communicate, but in different ways. They commune, they have community, like you said. And there's so many facts about trees that I love, and I'm not like a tree scientist, a botanist, or a arborist, or whatever the names are, but the wisdom that the trees hold, and that's what I wanted to get back to is, so I'll tell you the story how we met grandmother tree. We were on a hike it's actually the closest place to hike to where we live. It's about 15 minutes away from us. Just for reference, I live in northern Kentucky, about 15 minutes from Cincinnati, and this was about 15 minutes west of me, almost to the Ohio River. So as you know, the Ohio River kind of like wraps around the top of Kentucky, that little tiny notch. I live in that notch, and we were right next to the river. And we go there and hike, I don't know, once a week, sometimes more if we can. And about 6 months, oh no, it's been longer than that, about 8 months ago or so, we were walking and we stopped at this tree, and we were both just really called to stop. And I would say though my partner was actually more called to stop. He was like, I have to stop here. And I'm like, by all means. And so we started, we just placed our hands on the tree and asked for any like wisdom, guidance, and just offered love. And both of our messages come different ways. Some are more subtle, some are more like question answer, some are more, and it's just evolved. But grandmother tree, she doesn't just represent one tree. She actually represents like a large majority of the tree spirits, is what I call them, the tree entities, tree beings, trees, whatever you want to call them. And she has the wisdom of all those trees and more. So actually, she's given me the message multiple times that we actually all, because we are all connected, have all of the wisdom in the universe inside of us already. But that, if you forget that wisdom, or you need kind of like a reminder, or you need a little push, or you need a little message, or you need a little, like, what's the word? It's like a really basic word, but that not approval, but that reminder that you're like on the right path, or that you're doing the right thing, that they're able to give you that nudge of that. And so to me, grandmother tree isn't just like one tree. She is actually the wisdom of like the universe, the wisdom of God. She's God's, she has God's wisdom, because it's all one, right? We are all one. And I really do believe that like we carry that wisdom in ourselves. Yep. And that they just help kind of spark that. And it's funny because oftentimes grandmother tree's messages are she's got a really funny like sense of humor, and she laughs a lot, and she's older, and we've asked her we've asked her anything from like personal things going on in our lives, like ways to better communicate with, like, me and my partner both do that. We always ask her like, is there something I can do to support my partner today better, or like whatever. And she has beautiful messages for that, of course, because right, it's all connected, it's all one. But sometimes her messages are also like, she's funny, she's got like a really cool personality, but we've asked her anything from like, how does it feel to be an old tree? And she's like, old? Like, you mean like near the life cycle, like the end of my life cycle? She's like, doesn't matter. Like that time isn't relevant. Time doesn't to play the same roles, and we don't think about that the same way because we're all one. And so like I am the tree next to me, or I am the animals, and I am you. And so if I'm able to, once I fall over, be nutrients for the fungi, for the bugs, for the animals, do I decompose into the ground and make more plants? Like that's just part of my life, and I don't see it as like a death and rebirth almost. Even like the death piece was it, she's been really clear about, like, it doesn't feel the same way. Now now we have talked with her recently, so this is a whole nother conversation, but we're hopefully moving to some beautiful land very soon, and we've been talking about how we commune with the trees there to get like approval, to honor the land, to ask where to place things, like because we do have to tear down some like saplings, and like our hope and goal is to tear down like no old growth trees, or like kind of like ancient trees. But at the time, if we're building a pond or whatever, on this, you might have to do that. So we communed with her about it, and she goes, it's all about intentionality. So if you're a big logger, you come and just tear down the trees without the intention of like replanting them or doing some good in the world with those trees. And if you're just not mindful, there's a difference between something like that and taking down a few trees. Maybe a tree's over your house and it might fall on your house, and it's like a safety thing. And so she's just been really clear about just talking to the trees. And so we can talk more about like how you talk to the trees and different ways to do that. And I definitely have some examples, and kind of, by no means am I like an expert at this. Like I said, it's new in my journey, but it's also something that's kind of ancient wisdom to me. But we can talk about that too. We talk about whatever you want, Lisa, because I've just, I'm excited just to really kind of share some of the wisdom that they've kind of bestowed upon me, which is, like I said, really organic, innate wisdom anyway, right? It's like when you really tap into does this answer feel in alignment? It's always in alignment, because it's always kind of coming from inside, even though it's coming from outside, right? Like it's really this reciprocity. Like I keep seeing which is one of the ways you can commune with the trees anyway. So we'll talk about that. But
I love the relationship that humans and trees have. Most people don't really recognize it, I don't think, but as we breathe, as humans, we breathe in oxygen and we exhale carbon dioxide. Trees inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. It's like we have this incredible symbiotic nature with trees. And the trees of the rainforest, especially, they're like the lungs of the planet. And we have been just convinced that it's just lumber and that we need to, tear down all of these trees. And like you're talking about, there's the intention behind that. It's just profit. It's all about making money. And there's no awareness about what we're actually doing here to our own lungs, to our ability to breathe and thrive on this planet. The trees clean the air for us.
Yeah, it makes me think, my partner saw this video the other day where this girl was talking about how she talks with trees, and she had touched a tree outside of her house, and the tree was not and I've never encountered this, so this is not a firsthand story, but she said the tree was like not very happy with her, like in general. And she asked why and talked with it, and it said, you tore down my whole family. Like you didn't even have like any like, it's not even respect. It's like obvious, but anyway. And so, and like I said, this is kind of like third hand almost information coming from this person to my partner to me, but that really didn't feel well with me. And when he told me that, I said, oh wow, yeah. And I can see how when there's not intentionality behind it, and that's what Grandmother Tree said, because I asked her that day. This happened even in the last week, because this whole conversation around building and how to like really respect and honor the land in a way that is anyway, that is like that is reciprocity and like carnate. So anyway, and so grandmother tree, she laughed. She really did laugh. She laughs a lot at me, but she's like, oh, beautiful one. It's all about intentionality, like I said. And so when I don't know this, she didn't know like the story I was like referring to when I talked to her directly, but she just said, yeah, this happens all the time. Like people come in even to like a neighborhood and just like tear down the whole tree. I mean, I don't even keep any of the old growth trees, like any of the really, and not that there's like a pecking order and but there is like this like respect for things that have been here longer. So and though they don't see time the same as like a linear line, it is like the energy of like how much they've given, right, of this oxygen and received and kind of cleaned the air, and how much they've created like homes for the animals, and how much so there's this like, it's not about like work either. It's they see things really differently than we do. But if we were putting it in our words, it's like they put all this work into the world, and so they just want to have like be respected. But it's beyond respect, right? It's like an allegiance, because it's like if we pledge our allegiance to things that actually matter,
Right.
we pledge our allegiance to the environment, to really ourselves, to the breath, because when we suffocate these trees, these plants, these algae, these things that give us life, we're suppressing our own breath and really our voice. Like it really is connected to like our chakra systems, our throat, other things too. But long story short, she laughed at me and she's like, oh yeah, it's all about your intention. It's really all about what you go into a situation with. And obviously if your intention's something that's hurting more than it's helping, then that in itself is a problem anyway. And you should really reevaluate what you're doing, right? If you can't have, yeah. And so the message was like, if you can't get to a place where you feel reciprocity, then there's an innate problem with anything you're doing. And so it's funny because grandmother tree wisdom went from like something really kind of like kind of more abstract or something not like as relevant to like something really relevant. She always has a way of doing that, like pulling in the conversation and saying like, don't focus on that. Like, don't focus on that girl in the tree, and you focus on when you are in nature, or when you're building, or when you're thinking about the land and how the land can be of service to you and how you can be of service to the land. Think about it in those terms, right? It's not about what I can take, what I can exploit, what I can extract. And that's what she said. But she said this can also go into every other aspect of your life, even like a business. Say you're creating a business. She said, if you can create a business where everyone involved is really benefited, everyone involved from every piece of it, financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever, all the things. If you can create a business that has all those things, then like the universe will grant you lots of doors opening, lots of windows opening, lots of opportunity, lots of community, because you're not trying to extract and you're not trying to exploit. You are trying to give, and then you will receive, and you might receive in different ways, right? You might receive financially, you might receive energy, you might receive blessings, you might receive clients, whatever you're trying to receive. But as long as you're giving equally, or even, I like and we don't have to be martyrs, so this isn't a martyr statement, but even if we can give more than we expect to receive, then I feel like the universe then often like even amplifies that receiving, because your intention isn't I'm going to give to receive. Your intention is I want to give because I truly care about people, about the planet, about myself. Even yourself has a piece to play in that, and it's not about gaining, right? Because it's not all about gains, capital gains or gains of possession, right? It's about this true reciprocity. And so like I love how grandmother tree takes something kind of small, or kind of like I said, abstract, or kind of isn't really relevant to many people, or it is really relevant actually, but you know, most people might not think it's relevant, but that like really turns those lessons into something that is really palpable for everyone, you know. And if there's messages in it that are so wise, and really reinforce like my core being as well, because sometimes I'll be like, should I make this decision or this decision? And I'll go ask her, and like she just a lot of times she laughs at me because she's like, doesn't matter, like beautiful, it does not matter, like that doesn't, these little small minute things that like in life sometimes are like really big deals to us might cause us lots of stress, right? Like I'm in this situation right now where I'm trying to figure out, like I have two different paths I could take, and I'm trying to figure out to stay in academia or to leave it. And she just laughs. She's like, it doesn't matter. You'll end up exactly where you need to be. Like, don't worry about it. Just do what you want. She's very much said, do what you want, like, while still taking into account, like not still being intentional, right? But like, do what you are called to do. Do what you feel in your heart. Do what, yeah. And so anyway, I just think her messages are outstandingly wise. And so the wisdom you speak of is, but it's really all the land. I mean, you can feel this just by stepping outside barefoot on the ground. And you can feel this by flowers, from plants, from animals, from birds, to insects. I mean, you really can feel this connection and the reciprocity kind of in all of those things. But the trees, I feel like, are one of the, I don't want to say easiest, but for me, one of the just more simple ways to connect, outside of barefoot connection outside. And we could have a whole conversation around grounding, but would love to talk with more at some point around how you do, like how people could start to talk to trees. So
Yeah, absolutely. The trees, I kind of look at them as really one of the direct connections between heaven and earth, because they take in the plasma energy, the light for the light codes they bring in, they do the photosynthesis, they pull in the light from source, and then they bring it into physicalness and then ground it into the ground, and they make things stable. And I mean, what a beautiful gift to be able to speak with the trees and receive all of this incredible wisdom that they have from both heaven and earth. They are connected on both sides, which is so beautiful.
yeah, and that's one of the easiest ways actually to go out and connect with a tree, is to sit facing the tree. So like facing the tree and just sit on the ground. And if you're an energy person, and this can be, like I said, a really multitude of people, right? People that are been on their spiritual journey for a long time, or newbies, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just sit there and kind of envision this energy of the tree going through your chakra system, which is like this part of your body, up through the crown of your head, back into the crown of the tree, down the root system, and back. And it's like this beautiful cycle. So if you're like hesitantly like, I feel schizophrenic to go talk to a tree, which I'm sure people might feel, which is totally fine, because that's our programming from the world, from the world we live, that we're trying to shift out of. So it's okay to feel that way, because at the very beginning, when I started talking to you, I'm like, am I really talking to trees, or am I just making this up? But let me share with you some of the steps to kind of maybe get to the place where you could feel more confident in kind of your communing. But yeah, so as you sit there, you just have this cycle, right? And it's really the reciprocity of breath. Even you can look at it like that. You breathe in, you breathe out, and it's this cycle. You can see it as like energy, like just flowing. You can imagine whatever color you want. If you know anything about the chakra system, the energy centers of your body, say you need help with your solar plexus, which is traditionally like a yellow color, you can ask the tree to provide cleansing for that area, or rejuvenation, or whatever you need, whatever you need, really you can just put the intention out, say a prayer. That's all an intent. That's all a prayer is an intention. And ask. And if you're connected to like God, source, creator, spirit, oneness, whatever you call whatever, you can pray that as well. Because if you're not comfortable with the tree yet, you could just pray to your higher power, your God, for lack of better words, love, and just ask, hey, will you help me commune with these trees? You could ask your angels or your guides or your ascended masters whatever. They can all assist you in these spiritual processes that sometimes like we think, oh, that's like outside of my realm of understanding. So this is one way to do it really naturally, organically. And there's different levels, like I said, of that. You can just sit there and receive and just kind of start there. You can start with, make an intentionality with your breath. You can start with clearing your chakra systems. You can start with asking for grounding or rooting or balance. So this is just one kind of really simple way. It's like this kind of, I always imagine just like a loop. And it's like, and in this process, you can also offer things back to Gaia, to the trees, to the plants, to the ground, to the earth, or to the heavens, because like you said, there it's all connected, right? And trees have a way of connecting the heavens and the earth. And so feel free to like ask for things or whatnot, but also feel free to give a gift of like love or gratitude or appreciation. And actually, appreciation is a higher vibration or frequency than gratitude. So I know sometimes we're like, oh, we're in such gratitude, and like the words, words are words, but if your intentionality behind that's appreciation, sometimes replacing that word gratitude with appreciations actually can be beneficial. So you could appreciate the tree and give that appreciation back, or gratitude, or whatever you want. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, like the tree's not going to say, you gave me gratitude, not appreciation. But I think sometimes our intentionality with our words, with our language, can really benefit ourselves, but also if words are associated with certain vibrations, or even it's not the word necessarily, but the feeling, if we have a way to describe that feeling, it helps. So that's why I brought that up. But there's tons of other ways to connect with a tree. So I'll go maybe into the next one, which is like my favorite. Well, let's back up. So just, you can do the same thing standing up next to the tree. So you sat down next to the tree. So it's like makes this loop, and you can be like anywhere from 2 feet, 5, 10, 20 feet, whatever you want. Because the root systems under the trees are quite often really vast. And the root systems are also like connected, as we talked about before, like directly connected, but also then connected via fungi underneath the ground. So they all communicate actually for the whole earth, really. But so it doesn't really matter where you stand, but it does sometimes help if you're like focusing on one and you kind of like pick it, and then you kind of intentionally put yourself, 5, 10 feet, a couple feet away. So you can do that sitting down, standing up. You can do the similar process. And then my favorite way is to actually go and touch the tree. And so depending on where you're at, and this is just kind of you can ask permission to touch the tree, but I've never had a tree say, you can't touch me. But especially, trees in parks or forests or protected areas, they're going to be happy to commune with you, to be in reciprocity, to be in conversation. So you can go up and place both hands. You can place one hand on your heart, one hand on the tree, either one. But really, just both hands on the tree is one of my favorite ways, because I feel like instant grounding. Even before you put out the intention, it's like an instant ground in. And then it's kind of like a quieting of the mind. And if you allow yourself just to kind of sit there and pray or meditation with the tree, you don't even really you can start that way as well, so that you don't feel like pressured, like I have to ask something or get a message or whatever. Just sit there in silence. And that's a form of communing with the tree as well, because they're happy just to be silent with you as well. They're also happy to commune in different ways through more language. And so some of the more simple way, you can introduce yourself. Names don't really matter. It's funny, the trees rarely ever give me a name, like a human name. They often will give me their relationship to the other trees around them, or there's a whole group of trees, not to get too far off on a tangent, called the Watchers in this certain place we go, because they stand on top of the hill, and it's a family of trees. It's 6 or 8 of them, and they just stand the tallest, and they watch on both sides of the valley. They're on top of the summit there, and they just kind of watch, and they're very wise, and their energy is very strong, almost like warriors. So anyway, but they have different energies and things, and so you can simply just kind of start with this is my intention. My intention is just to spend time with you, or my intention is to to really ground in with you. My intention is to gain some type of wisdom nugget or nuggets from you. Or my intention is just to give you love for all the love that you've given us through oxygen, through kind of grounding, and like this connection, like you said, the connection to the earth and the heaven. You can offer gratitude for many, many things. If it's a fruit tree, for the fruit they provide, or nuts for ourselves or the animals, or whatever, you can offer gratitude, appreciation for any of those things, all of those things. So you can start kind of like smaller, or you can go right into it. You could be having like a rough day, and you could say, I need you to take all this energy for me, or I desire you to take all this negative energy for me. And the trees are like, that's easy for us. No worries. Like, it is so easy, and it doesn't affect them. Like, I've had this conversation multiple times, because like there's been times when I'm like struggling, maybe it's struggling with something at work, or struggling with something relationship wise, or whatever it may be, and go to the trees, and they just release it. And you can see that also through kind of that cycle. So you can see it, and you can reverse that cycle as well. So you can release it through your feet. So instead of seeing the cycle like going through your feet up through your head, you can see it going the other way. So like releasing anything in your body through the feet into the ground, into the tree, and it like dissolves it almost. Kind of like what it does with our carbon dioxide, changing it to oxygen. It's very similar. So you can like release things like that, like really, and it does not hurt anybody. It doesn't hurt the planet, doesn't hurt the trees, doesn't hurt anything. It's in the highest and best interest for everyone. And the trees, the message I've received time and time again is like, we enjoy helping. Like, we're here to like assist. The whole planet's here to assist each other, to commune, to love, to be connected. So like, we're honored to do that kind of work. So never feel like, oh my gosh, I have to be the most positive, in the best mood, or whatever. You can really be in like any type of mood, good, bad, indifferent. And sometimes that's how it is too. Like, sometimes I go talk to the trees, I'm really in an indifferent mood. I'm like, not really feeling like inspired today. I'm not really feeling this. And the messages that come through are, that's okay to feel that way. But also they sometimes give little nuggets of reminders that I could have about what might pull me out of that space and pull me into a space of inspiration, or a space of even just a space of like being okay with being blah or whatever. Like, because sometimes the worst feeling about feeling blah is that you're feeling blah, and then you're like, well shit, why am I feeling blah? And the reminder that it's like, okay, like whatever you're at today, like it's okay. And so the trees have given so much wisdom around so many things to me that I could go on forever. But to continue on the story of like how we commune, you can release through the feet. You can do that cycle the kind of opposite way that we talked about. You can place your hands on the tree. You can do one hand on your heart, one hand on the tree, or a different chakra, or a different part of your body. Even if you need like healing, like physical healing. And so this is coming more from my intuition. I've not experienced this, but it's funny because sometimes, like, because we're all connected, I can tap into the tree spirit. Like, and just now it said, oh yeah, remind people like they can heal through us, and vice versa. Like, if you see like a hurt tree, you can also send that love to the tree. So it can go both ways, and it should really go both ways. It really and should is like could, should, whatever, but in theory, like, I think our intention should be to go both ways with it, right? Though the tree spirits don't mind that you kind of come in if you never gave them healing, because maybe you don't know what that is, or you're like, I don't even know, but you asked for healing because that's like an easier thing for you to do, is to receive it. Because sometimes on our spiritual path and journey, we're not always there to like be healers yet, even though we're all healers innately, naturally. We can heal our own body, as we can heal the planet, we can heal others. But if you're not to that space yet, and you're just a receiver of healing work, or that kind of spiritual work, just know the trees are okay with that too. Like, they're okay wherever you're at on your process, wherever you're at on your journey. That but that came through really strong, actually, like physical healing. And I do this with the ground a lot of times. So thinking, if I'm not feeling well, like asking the earth to take any toxins out of me, which is naturally happens actually when you place your bare feet on the ground anyway. But you can place that intentionality on it. But I just got that, like I said, I just got that message that you can actually do this with the tree. And that could be really beneficial for like health benefits outside of like the natural that already happened, but putting some intentionality behind it, because that intentionality just amplifies some things, or can amplify things. And that's one other thing, is if you could be barefoot, you know, and I get sometimes it might be 30 degrees outside or 10 degrees or whatever, or wet or whatever, muddy. But the times that you can be barefoot or like have some type of natural, if you do have like socks or shoes, if you have some type of like natural material, like a wool's a great conductor. Not that I've seen wool shoe, I'm sure they have them, but I don't even buy shoes like that. I just go barefoot if I can. And or, you know, take on and off your shoes. There's no like rule that says you have to be barefoot the whole time. I mean, sometimes I'll do a 5-mile hike barefoot, or days like today when it's like 60 degrees and I'm about to go on a hike. In a couple hours, I'm going to be in one of my favorite places hiking and talking with the trees, but I'll be like half barefoot, half not, or maybe I'll just take off my shoes for 5 or 10 minutes. But like, that's really beneficial. And that is part of communing with the land and being in connection with it. So yeah, I'll let you ask any questions, because you might have tons, or you might just comment.
Yeah, you know, we've been so disconnected. You know, I look at it as we are these grand beings of light, but we have come here to this planet to explore the opposite of who we are. We have come here to like taking on these roles like actors, you know, and exploring the who we are not. You know, how do we explore forgetting who we are? How do we explore fear and doubt and guilt and shame and all of these things that are not natural to us? So this whole game has been set up in reverse. And one of the things that you've mentioned a couple of different times was, you know, am I really talking, you know, am I really communicating, or am I just making this up in my head? And I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to be able to get over, is that, you know, our imagination is the tool we use to navigate the non-physical realms. So it's the tool that we use to communicate non-verbally and with our intention. So we have to be able to be imaginative and allow ourselves to. I did a lunch with Lisa the other day about the power of pretending, you know, allowing ourselves to, in the beginning, it feels like I'm just pretending, like I'm just making this up. But once you actually start to trust that communication, look at the vast realms that it opens up.
Yeah, my grandmother, my actual grandmother, is coming through right now to share something, and she's so funny. Her name was Irene, but I called her Nanny. And Nanny had beautiful, beautiful flower gardens, and she would give so much love to these plants. And it's funny, I don't know if she ever told me that she talked to her plants or not, but you know, the old wives' tale of talking to your plants, they grow better. And I think, outside of the realm of me not having like the articles of research right in front of me, like I think there's vast research that actually shows that as well, and like science rooted in that left brain. Because if you're one of those people who are like, my right brain's feeling this, my heart's feeling this, but I need some evidence. There's actually, I think, I believe, quite a bit of evidence around the positive effects of like, and I'm thinking also, the positive effects of speaking within a positive way of things. But I'm thinking of this book, The Power of Water by Dr. Emoto.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really powerful because he did similar experiments with water around placing like words on like water bottles of like I am opening up like just you fool and all these negative words, and then like saying positive loving things like love and compassion and appreciation, and taped them on water bottles, froze them, same water, same freezing system, same thing, and then took slices of them and then put them under a microscope and looked at what the crystals look like. And the crystals from and I'm sure you know this, Lisa, but this is for everyone else out here, but like that maybe has not experience this book. It's really beautiful. So the ones that were had the negative words were like all deformed, and maybe I can show you a picture. I don't know how that will show up, how well that will show up, but they end up being like these really like deformed, like non-crystally crystals, right? And then the ones with love and compassion, and this one had has spoken a prayer to. So I think that was before and after the prayer, but that's like after the prayer, it literally switched form and it was healthier. So my understanding of the universe is if that works for water, and water is a piece of us as humans and a piece of so many of the or all the plants and animals and everything, then this is the same for that. So speaking to our plants can be really beneficial for their growth, can be all these things. But I think it's funny because that's kind of where the wives' tale ends, right? It's like, speak to your plants, give them gratitude, give them appreciation, give them love. And I think that's a great start. It's really beautiful, but that's kind of where it ends. They don't say, ask your plants for love back, or ask for, and I think if you talk to like a true gardener, or someone who's really like a botanist, someone who's really into the plants, they're going to say that it is a reciprocal relationship, even if they're looking at it from like a science-based mind. And so I think that's where this world gets interesting, and not, we don't have to get too far out there. We can, I don't know, but I think it's that programming that this keeps coming up. And I think Dr. Karen, who you're great friends with, and I'm sure has been on the show multiple times, mentioned something that yesterday about programming, and I didn't really even look much more into it, just because I energetically knew what she was talking about, and I saw a post on Facebook or something, and I've been thinking about that. And last night I was watching this TV show, and I usually don't watch commercials, but this one happened to have commercials, and in this commercial they were making fun of this guy who was talking to his plants, like he was like nurturing his plants and talking to them, and it was like some insurance commercial or something, and they're like, don't worry, you don't have to overshare with us that you talk to plants, like we'll still give you the discount even if you're not, whatever, something stupid. But like, it really reminded me that we are inundated by programming that tells us the opposite of what like this research shows, the opposite of our intuition, the opposite of this innate the innateness of who we are, the wisdom that we carry, the love that we carry. It's like it wants us to separate, because then we're in fear, and then we're buying the products, and this is so that we don't have to go down that hole. But it is really connected too with communing with trees, or Mother Nature, Gaia, because we're taught that that's like dumb. But really, it could be dumb, right? Like that's what this commercial was sharing. It was like making fun of this person almost. And my partner and I were like, oh, this like hurts our hearts, but also it's just a good reminder of the programming that we're inundated with, right? Because the other two commercials were like prescription commercials around pharmaceuticals. And it's like, yeah, keep people in fear, keep people reminded that disease is here for you at any moment. You can just grab onto it, or it grabs onto you, right? But either way, it's all part of the program. And I know that you know lots about this, so maybe you have something more to share. But we can take it anyway. I just had this, there was something that's coming up for me around that, because I think that this disillusion makes us think, well, we can't commune with trees. That makes us crazy. And it's like, that's what that programming wants us to feel disconnected. Because like I said at the very beginning, when we feel disconnected, now we're not taking care of the environment. Now we're like, we'll cut up these trees, and without any intention or without any reason, except we want money. And it's like it's all these things. It's like, if we're not connected, then we're not able to pull away from that and come together, like pull away from that programming, and then really unify together with other people, with other plants, animals, creation, and really God. That's God. And so really this programming is pulling us away from God in a way that is really sad, but also hopeful, because I think people like you, Lisa, are teaching people how to reconnect, and all the work that you do in that world is really beautiful. So just wanted to honor you for a second and say thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. As we're immortal beings, here learning what it's like to be mortal, to believe that we are mere mortals. And the only way we can possibly do that is to hypnotize ourselves in the reverse. Like, right? To believe that we're small, that we're insignificant, that we're victims, that, we live in a great big world and we're powerless to change things. And, so we've been able to really explore the opposite. We've been able to explore limitation. And, it's a great thing, because how else would we know? We are unlimited beings. And, but the great thing about limitation is that it's limited. So we have explored like every nook and cranny of limitation and suffering. And now, as the infinite beings we are here to flip the game back and to take our power back. So we're really starting to remember that, we are all connected. It is all one. So, we look at the programming, we look at the destruction that has happened on the world, we look how we've been separated from everyone and everything. And, the really amazing part is that we have the ability to reconnect consciously. We've never been actually separated. We've always been intimately connected. So that the separation is just the illusion. But, starting to recognize that everything that is alive has the same living life force energy moving through it. And we have the ability to commune and communicate with all living beings, whether it is the worm in the soil, or the fish in the sea, or the tree, or the bird, or the other humans. We are all one. And when we start to really notice that, we start to take our power back. And I remember, I'm just reminded of a story. Somebody on Facebook had posted something about how they felt so like scared walking out in the woods. They were uncertain, they were frightened, they didn't know what, they had a fear of going hiking. And I just remember I wrote a little note and I said, all of those trees are our best friends. All of the trees are there to love us and to support us. And if you actually go put your hands on a tree and just look for the love that the tree has for you, all of a sudden you'll realize that you're not alone as you're hiking, that you are surrounded by hundreds, if not thousands, of your best friends. And they were like, wow, I never thought about it that way. So I don't know whatever happened, if we went out and actually did that or not, but I was like, once we start to really look and see what's possible and see what we're really surrounded by, life becomes a whole new ball game, and it's amazing. We have Michelle says, all living things communicate with each other and with other species. We have to be aware and listen to the subtle messages they are conveying. All nature works harmoniously together. And she says, the secret life of plants is excellent. We'll have to check that out. And we have Leanne saying, hello, fellow tree huggers. Kathy and Delbert and Brenny, Kinsey, everybody's here this morning. Thank you all for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you. And that was such a good reminder. I missed that when we were talking about ways to commune. And sometimes my favorite way is literally just to go and embrace the tree. You don't have to wrap your arms around. You can really just lean up against. You can put one arm around. You can put both. Do whatever you want. I'm fond of like kissing trees, but some people for whatever reason might not be into that, or they always make fun of me and compare me to, like, there's a movie called Superstar where there's a girl that, like, Molly Shannon, she like makes out with a tree, and so they always make fun of me, but I think it's hilarious. I'm like, make fun of me all you want, because I'm enjoying myself and I'm also sharing that, like, if I can kiss a tree, then you can hug a tree. And that's kind of like my little motto around it. But when I say make fun, some people may be behind my back viciously, but most people up to my face are just kidding around. But but I just think it's so funny because there's so many ways of communing, and that hug, that embrace is one way just to really soak in. And I love your story at the end around your friend who's had this fear of hiking and then was reminded of like the thousands of protectors and watchers and lovers and grandmas and grandpas and children that, you know, are there, the saplings, like, you know, that are all there to like protect and love and nurture and play, right? It's a piece of play too. And anyway, I would love to one day tell you more about the different tree personalities. There are so many, but yeah, some of them are very playful.
I mean, that's beautiful because we really don't think that much about the different personalities of trees, but it makes complete sense. I mean, you think about dogs, the different personalities of dogs, you know, like a little Chihuahua and a German Shepherd have completely different personalities. So why would an apple tree and a pine tree not have completely different personalities as well? And also different types of messages. I mean, they're all, I'm sure, the same messages, but you know, they communicate in different ways.
Yeah, like the pines. The pines for me are very tranquil and calm and just and even their messages are just come through very calm, no matter if they identify as young, old, whatever gender. Like I said, sometimes there's gender, sometimes there's not for me, or whatever. It doesn't matter. All of them, this really calm, like it's like their voice, the voice appears to me very calm, but it's like the energy's calm, and so that's why the voice appears that way. Because sometimes I hear the direct message, right? Like the download of message from the tree, and sometimes it's more of an energy exchange where I can just feel the tree. So yeah, just know too, if you're starting on this journey, there's no right or wrong way. The only wrong way is to have that fear of not going into the woods or not trying it out. And you know, and that's really the only thing you could do wrong is not try at all. And then yeah, just get out there and have fun, and like don't, and it doesn't have to be serious, and just know that it can help though. Like it can help with lots of different things going on top of your other things going, you know, if you have, you know, professionals, you talk, whatever. I mean, it's not, you know, I think it could be a cure all, but I think, you know, for most people, getting multiple streams of people kind of helping in that process is beneficial. So I just want to get that kind of disclaimer is like, don't quit your meds, don't quit your, well, maybe quit your meds. But
Yeah,
you know,
please.
but think about, you know, other ways of healing, other ways of allowing the earth to heal us. Think about indigenous folks who were here way before the pharmaceuticals we have now, right? There were other medicines. There were medicines from the earth, medicines from the plant, and medicines from grounding on the earth, because they knew the power of being barefoot, the power of communing with trees and animal spirits and things like that. And I just think just having that as a reminder of, as we go through the journey too, you know, that we have the power to heal it all, and to be healed. And anyway, just wanted to say thank you. Thanks for, I don't know what time we're at. I can talk forever, so you have to just cut me off.
We're coming up to the top of the hour, but we have Michelle. Let's see. Brenda said, I gave my daughter a birthday party where we all created a big circle to hug the oak trees. That's beautiful. And Michelle is asking, what does Ryan think about eating the fruit from trees? Is it taking from the tree what belongs to the tree, or is it to supply food for humans and animals?
Oh, I think so. I asked a similar question to Grandmother Tree one time. Through another tree, I was staying in the Cayman Islands, and there wasn't a key tree, which is a type of fruit, but I didn't know how to like harvest the fruit anyway, so I didn't eat any of the fruit. But I asked a key tree there with Grandmother Tree's energy, came through and said, "Oh yeah, like that's what we're here. We're here for the animals, and you are an animal, like you are an animal like being, to eat, to eat." Now, exploiting the tree like doing something that's going to hurt the tree or whatever. And I don't know enough about this scientifically to say much, but like if you like harvested early or late or whatever and it like hurt the tree, or did something that was like exploitative of the tree, then I think that's different. Or spraying it with like lots of chemicals, that's really sad, and things like that. But outside of that realm, like that's what it's there for. And the fruit that doesn't get eaten or by the animals, you know, us or other animals, just fall and decay and die, and little insects eat it and other things eat it. So at the end of the day, or the fungi eat it or live on it or grow from it. So it's all part of the systems of life. And so that's the message that she gave me in that moment. She was like, oh no, like she laughed at me when I asked that. Because I was like, can I take some of these fruits? And she was like, of course you can. But then I didn't know how to, like, what was ripe or what wasn't, because it was a fruit I'd never seen before. And so I just left it and said, well, I'll just leave it and let it be. But that was the message she gave really clear around that fruit. But I think it really just goes back to intentionality. Like, what's your intention? And what are you doing with the fruit? I mean, if you're eating it, by all means, it's the plants. They don't, like I said, they don't see life and death the same way we do in life cycles and time. So even if you just grew crops to like eat them, like your main intention was to eat them, like they're happy with that because they're providing nutrients. And as long as you like are nice to them, right? And to me, being nice means using the least amount of chemicals or pesticides or insecticides or whatever, or growing the most organic way possible. That's the way to kind of attain that, like respect for the plant, even if you're going to end up eating it. It's like respecting its life. That is its life cycle. And if you didn't eat it, the fruit would, or the vegetables would die off, and the little plants would, would go back into the earth anyway. So I think it's just about like the intentionality behind it.
Exactly. It's really all about honoring all life and doing no harm. Like we have been really inundated with greed and do whatever you can to get as much money, and that's not respecting ourselves or the other beings on this planet. And in order to wake ourselves back up to realize that we are grand beings of light, we have to start treating ourselves as grand beings of light, and we have to start recognizing the light in all living beings and start treating all living beings with honor and respect. Beautiful. Ryan, this has been such a fun conversation. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with us today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Lisa. And really, it's the tree's wisdom. And it is wisdom that we all have. It is innate to us. And so just thanks for giving the tree some spotlight. Like every time I talk with them about this, I talked to Grandmother Tree about this podcast and the tree outside just a moment ago specifically. And they're just like real happy. They're like, yay, share with others, like, take the stigma down around like connection with humans, right? Like, in connection with animals and plants and the trees and the land, because that's what's going to save the planet. Like, and it sounds kind of hokey pokey, but like at the end of the day, that really will be what saves us all and saves this beautiful Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, Mother Nature, our beautiful planet we live on. Is really just that connection. It's being connected, because then we make different choices when we're connected.
Exactly. Yes, it's time to restore Mother Earth and restore our own light, to restore us to our real the human condition that is innate to all of us, and that allows us to live in harmony with this beautiful planet and with each other. Time to create heaven on earth. So thank you all for joining us. Ryan, how can people reach out to you if they would like to connect with you?
Yeah, you can
read your book.
Yeah, just go to my website. It's ryanjosephallen.com, or mydrugdealerbroughtmetogod.com, or social media, just Ryan Joseph Allen, ALLEN. Yeah, just reach out. I answer all my messages. You feel free to reach out, email, through the website or social media. You can add me and just chat. Some of you already know, so thanks for joining. It's good to see you, Brenny, or feel you at least. I can't see you, but I can feel you your presence with us, and anyone else who joined that I missed too. But yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate time with you, Lisa, and just spending time with you is always such a it's more than a blessing. So I searched for a word that's more than blessing, but blessing will do for now. I'm appreciative of you.
Likewise, it's always such a delight to hang out and have conversation. Ryan, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Look forward to having you back on again. This is always a beautiful time to spend together. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another Soulution Sunday. Remember that you are grand beings of light. Start to recognize the light within yourself and go out and look for the light in the trees. Communicate with a tree. Find out what messages the trees and the rest of Mother Nature has for you. Thank you all for joining us today. Until next week, create for yourselves a great week. And I am going on vacation. I'm going to be on a little hiatus, going out with Keith Leon, who is the director and producer of The Inside Effects, How the Body Heals Itself. We're going to be doing a little bit of promotion of this movie that'll be coming out in June. So the next few Soulution Sundays are going to be pre-recorded, but they will be coming on live at 10 a.m. Eastern for the next 3 Sundays, the same time. And so just simply check it out in Facebook. They will go live as a premiere on YouTube, and the link will be in the Facebook group. So please keep watching. We have some great guests coming up for the next few weeks until I get back live. So thank you all for joining us. Until next time, create for yourselves an amazing, beautiful day. Bye for now.